And if you want to know about these, they're on the Miami Dade Extension website on the calendar, or you can join my email list and get information about them and other things as well related to tropical fruit. Here's all the tropical fruit Tuesdays that we've done, and they're all on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, search Tropical Fruit Tuesday, you'll get all of these bad boys. And this will be the post test. You're going to have to name all of these. So take a quick learning of those. Where should you get information? I always like to start with this. The best spot is something called Ask IFAS. It's University of Florida database where everything is peer reviewed and easy to understand. So if you go to Ask IFAS, you type in mango, you're going to get a couple things on mango. One of them is how to grow mango in the home landscape. And it's going to give you 15 pages of how to grow mango in the home landscape, including cultivars, when to prune, when to fertilize, how much to fertilize, et cetera, et cetera. Other universities, a great place to get information. You can search your topic with EDU. YouTube, obviously a good place. Tropical Fruit Tuesdays and so much more is there. You can really learn it because you're going to see it. Master gardeners, I would imagine one or two of you are master gardeners listening in, or you work with master gardeners. Plant clubs, societies, you can join a plant club. There's usually a rare fruit council somewhere near you where you can learn about fruit, monthly meetings, experts, speakers. Social media, obviously a good place as well. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff. You can learn a lot there. Number one place is your own garden or your own grove. Very important that you pay attention while you're in your own garden or your grove. And then finally, beware the source of your information. Just because it comes up first on the interwebs doesn't mean it's true. Another good place for information is my tropical fruit page. You can find it here, or you can search Miami-Dade Extension tropical fruit. Tons of info there. So remember when I said beware of where you get your information, or beware of what you read, beware the source. I was doing my getting ready for my Tropical Fruit Tuesday on fertilizing, which we'll talk about today, starting now. And I was looking for different labels, but then something came up that said, what is the best fertilizer for fruit trees? And I was like, ooh, I want to know that because that's what I'm going to be talking about. So let me look. So it said, I clicked on it and it said fruit trees prefer an organic, that sounds good, high nitrogen fertilizer. That's wrong. Fruit trees can take nitrogen, but if you're going to get fruit trees, you need, or if you're going to get fruit and flowers, you need potassium, not nitrogen. Nitrogen makes things grow. So what does what? Nitrogen leaves green grass. It makes things grow. It's great for grass. If you want a plant to grow, give it nitrogen. NPK is what you'll find on a bag of fertilizer. It's the 3 numbers. This one is 839. So N is 8, P is 3, K is 9. So this is a fruit tree special. So phosphorus does roots and shoots. Down here in South Florida, we have a lot of phosphorus in the ground, so we don't need that much. And then potassium, that's fruiting and flowering. So we want that number higher than the nitrogen. So 839 is not bad because the last number, the potassium, is higher. So when you're fertilizing tropical fruit trees, get that potassium up. So I looked at some labels, and here's fruit and flower on the left, 493, so NPK. The N, the nitrogen, is bigger than the K. The 4 is bigger than the 3. So this is called fruit and flower, but it's not really good for fruiting and flowering. Citrus, 646. Nitrogen is same as K. The K is not higher than the nitrogen. I wouldn't get that. 624, nitrogen's higher. I wouldn't get that. Citrus and avocado, I think it was the same as the 646. I don't have the number there. So what would I get? Here's the 839, which is the typical fruit tree fertilizer that you're gonna get told when you look at the publications, they're gonna say 839. This is very typical. I would love even this one, 6316. You see that last number, potassium, very high, nitrogen lower. So if it were up to me, picking between 839 and 6316, I would go 6316. Do you need these exact ratios? No, you do not. You just want that last number higher than the first number. Nitrogen lower, because we don't want the fruit trees to grow leaves and just keep growing vegetatively. We want them to grow sexually, so we want flowers, and then we want fruit, so we want that potassium. Where are we going to put it? We're going to put it out in the drip line, not near the trunk, out there where those little dots are. That's the drip line. We're going to throw it out there like chicken feed. We're going to walk around and throw it down. This is what we don't want to do. This is actually the landscape here where we had the people that cut our grass fertilize, and they did this, and they never did it again because they did such a poor job. I had to take a blower and put it on there and blow it all out. Otherwise, that's going to burn the roots. So don't do this. Don't do this. These are palms, but you can see it's a no-no. It's not in the drip line. Here's a pigeon plum. Again, it's just clumped. The clumping will not only not work close to the trunk because you don't have your feeder roots there, but it will also burn any roots that are there because it's so high in fertilizer. So on the right, you see in the grass, some dead grass. That's where I was fertilizing our grove, and the fertilizer fell out of my bucket. I didn't notice, and then it killed the grass. So that's what's going on with clumping. So again, we want to put it, you can see my mouse, we want to put it out here in the drip line. Now here's a nice little plot, protected from the weed whacker guy, and we're going to put that fertilizer out there. So remember I mentioned the Ask IFAS, where you would find all these publications on different tropical fruit, and there'll be a chart in the back. This is a chart for carambola. So if you look and find growing carambola in the home landscape and Ask IFAS, you'll find this chart. And this chart tells you when to do everything. So when to look for disease, when to look for insects, when to fertilize, when to irrigate, when to do weed control, when to harvest, when to prune, selective pruning, and et cetera, et cetera. So this is a great thing that you're going to find in each one of those. I'm reading the chat, so you know. It's a thing I do. Okay, so that's fertilizing. We got that, right? Everybody knows that. We talked about nitrogen versus potassium. Very key. That was one of our pre-test questions. Okay, pruning. Pruning is very different. It looks like Mike has still not connected to audio, but whenever I think of pruning fruit trees, I think of Mike, because Mike Orphanides, Dr. Orphanides, he wants things to go up. He wants them to be Florida fancy. He wants them a nice, strong central leader. When I look at a tree, I want to take that leader out. I want to make it go sideways because that's where the fruit is, down low where I can get it. So we're going to talk quickly about species differences. We're going to talk about why we prune. We're going to talk about young tree training, and there'll be some examples along the way. So here's another document that you will find in Ask IFAS. If you put in Ask IFAS, if you put in tropical fruit tree pruning, you'll come up with this. On the left is the front page. On the right is a chart that's in the back. So this chart tells you not how big a fruit tree gets, but how big you should be keeping it with pruning. So if we look at mango, everybody knows mango. Down here towards the bottom third, we have the scientific name, and we look all the way to the right, and we want to keep our mangoes at 6 feet to 15 feet. Now, you know, if you leave a mango alone, and you've seen some mangoes, they're 40 to 50 feet. So how do we do that? Once they get that big, it's very difficult. But as Veronica, who's listening, knows, if you go out in my grove here at Miami-Dade Extension, you'll see all the mangoes, and they're all under 15 feet. Because every year I prune them, unless they're very kind of dwarfy, then I prune them kind of every third year. So look at this chart, and this will tell you how big you want to keep your fruit trees. So why do we do it? Number one, size control, just mentioned that. Number two, it's going to be easier to spray pesticides or fertilizer. Those of you that have the lychee Aranos mite, and Bonnie, I see your lychees there. Thank you for that. Those of you that have the lychee Aranos mite, if you have a big 40-foot lychee tree, you are not going to be able to spray it with sulfur to protect the tree from the mite very easily. But if you have a little 15-foot tree, it'll be easier. Pruning helps a lot with disease control. You get more airflow. You get more light. You reduce the amount of chemicals you need to spray. A smaller tree would not take as much. You get higher quality fruit because you're letting in that sunlight, you're getting the air, you're getting less disease, higher quality fruit. Sunlight equals high quality fruit. You're taking care of the overall health of the tree by removing dead wood. And beauty, I'm telling you, I love a well-pruned tree. It makes me happy. And then finally, biggest reason, to get more fruit. Oops, sorry. John, if it's okay, I'm going to answer the question in the chat. So how big should the canopy spread be? As big as you can make it without getting into other fruit trees. Sorry, I can't help myself but to read the questions. So these are the tools I use. I keep them in my truck. I keep them close to me. Hand pruner, you can cut a leaf to about 1/2 inch. Lopper, 1/2 inch to about 1.25 inches, depending on the wood. And handsaw, you can cut up to 3 feet with a good handsaw. So these are what I use. And if you look at the hand pruner, you can take that all apart and clean it and sharpen it. And that will last a long time. That particular hand pruner and that particular lopper, they are 20 years old. So they last a long time if you keep up with them and keep them sharp. The lopper too, you can take it apart, clean it, and sharpen it on a whetstone. This is what I don't really use to prune fruit trees because it's very easy to make a mistake. It's very easy to not think about what you're going to do. I do use this when I have a fruit tree that's not producing. I will go and put my chainsaw down next to it and just kind of say, hey, this could be in your future. You're not going to go ahead and, put out some fruit this year. And then if it doesn't put out fruit for a year or two, this is in its future. I will use that and plant something new. So Look at this lychee grove on the left. It is planted with pretty good spacing, but the trees were just left to get bigger and bigger and bigger. So they all shade each other out. So the only place you see fruit, and this is when it should have fruit, is right here in the middle and right here in the top right. The very top, you're getting some fruit. But all these sides, you're not getting it. You're getting all shaded out, and you're not even getting weeds down below because you're getting everything shaded. Here's the same grove, the same day. And because they have a driveway in between the rows, they're getting a lot of sunlight. And you see the fruit is abundant there because of the sunlight. And because, so if we would have kept these trees pruned so they could get sunlight, they would have a lot more fruit. So we want to let it light and air, but we want to take care of the sides because we don't want to be picking with our picking pole to get the fruit. We want to be able to get it fairly easily. When to prune fruit trees, you prune them after you get the fruit. So this picture on the left is a grove that was pruned too late. On the right is our mangoes that were not pruned. So they're full of bloom and fruit. But the one on the left was pruned so late that it affected the bloom cycle. Very cool, Miguel. Miguel said his dad used to put the chainsaw next to his fruit trees to make them bloom as well, and it worked. Now, young trees. This works particularly well on mangoes, but I'll show you carambola as well. When the tree is young, you want to get it to go sideways, right? You don't want it going straight up. Mangoes are going to try to go straight up. So if you clip them in the middle, like I did here on the left, you get all these branches breaking. And on the right, this is what happens when you clip out the middle. So now instead of one spot to get flowers and fruit, we have 6. And we do it again when they get a little bigger. So here they are, a little bigger. And I'm just gonna tip them. And this is gonna make them break again. So 1, 2, 3, 4 times 3. Now we're gonna have 12 branches, stalks, instead of 4. Very nice little compact tree. So I've started growing avocados. I didn't really grow a lot of avocados. I've grown a lot of mangoes. So I have about 8 young avocados in the grove here. And all of them, they're all different cultivars. All of them have gone sideways on their own. They've all broke branches. You look at the one on the left, the Oro Negro. That one is just a beautiful little bush of a tree. I love it. The one on the right, same thing. The one on the left, same thing. The one on the right, not as growing as vigorous, but still breaking branches. So I don't need to do anything at this point. Eventually they're going to get too tall, and then I'm going to take out some central, some strong vertical branches. Now here are 2 different mulberries, and the one on the left has responded much better to my pruning. You see it's kind of going sideways. The one on the right, I pruned it, it still went straight up. And they have just about the same size and flavor fruit. So when I have run out of space in my grove, guess who's gonna have to go? I think we can guess. So here's a mango, and this is a longer branch. And we're doing this in years 1 and 2 and maybe 3. Because in years 1, 2, and maybe 3, we're not getting flowers and fruit. But, so we can do all this tipping. We don't need to worry about. But after year 3, we're going to sit back and let it flower and fruit. And then we're going to prune it after that. So there's just a nice little tip. So this is a tip that made these branches. And this is when they're older, you see all these compact, short branches, which is nice instead of one long, tall branch. So here we go, year 3 or 4. On the left, after we've had a chance to flower and fruit, or if it doesn't flower fruit, we're looking for these strong verticals. And we're going to take that out on the left, and then we're going to tip it on the right. So here in the home landscape, we see nice going sideways. And year 3 or 4, we're going to get out that central strong vertical. So here it is right there, very obvious. So we're going to make a thinning cut, not a tip. We're going to go all the way down and pop it out, and then we're going to do some tipping to make it branch more. This is just a perfect little tree. Now, when they get very large, you want to pop out any strong verticals, and you would take out one like this, but maybe you would only take out one, not do 2 or 3. Just do 1 per year. There's a nice tree with nice proverbial low-hanging fruit. If most of you are landscapers, you would know this, but I've seen some landscapers not do this. So I'll just quickly cover it. Where you make your thinning cut is not here, a flush cut, which seems like it would be a good idea, but you want to leave this little collar. You want to leave this branch collar. So you're going to make it at an angle like that when you make your cut. And when you make your cut, I've seen a lot of tears up in trees. When you make your cut, you want to do this, the 3-step cut. So you come out about 4 inches from your final cut, number 3. You do an undercut, number 1. Then you do a cut, number 2, to take the weight off. Because if you start at the top of number 3, by the time you get 3/4 through, you're going to rip that bottom branch. So 1, 2, and then we take this little stub, 3. So checking my time. So this is a carambola that Henry Meyer gave me, and it was going straight up. It was about 5 feet to my chest. So I took out the center. That circle is year 1. Then year 2, I took out these strong verticals. See, I'm leaving this sideways. Year 2, I'm taking out 1, 2, 3. So there it is, year 2 in the circle. I'm just taking out that. Year 2, there it is, nice sideways, nice still 5-foot, 4-foot tree. That's all I took out. That's it. Year 3, there you see year 1, circle is year 2. Year 3 is the line down at the bottom. So we're taking out just these strong verticals. There they are on the left. There they are gone. Year 3 looks like year 2, doesn't it? So just that quick prune keeps the height where we want it. There's all I took out. Year 4, there's our strong verticals there. And they're gone. And there we see a nice wide tree, same height. And that's all I took out, was that. So here's all my cuts. They haven't healed beautifully, but you see the difference, these sideways branches versus these strong verticals. So here it is again. I'm sorry. Here it is again, strong vertical on the left in the circle. And this time I want to lift up the skirt a little bit because it's getting a little low. And if those fruit, the fruit's going to be on the ground. So we want to pick that up. So that's what I did on the right. And this time there was a little more taken off because we want to pick it up. So that tree just tells you exactly where to prune. Very easy. Here's a mango, a very vigorous mango. a turpentine. And you see all this center mess here on the left, that's taken out on the right. So going sideways, taking out strong verticals. Here's the cuts. I just love pictures of cuts and making cuts. So I got some of those. Here's what I took out. So there's a strong vertical on the left, and there's a lot of little verticals on the right that I popped out. So there it is before and after. Here it is the next year. And then I realized this was a very vigorous tree. So I pruned it a little harder. So you see on the right, I really opened it up. That's what I took out. And then on the right, you see a lot of sort of branches that weren't that healthy, little skinny ones. So I took those out too. So there it is before, after. Oh, the beautiful cuts. Oh, I like that one. Okay, here's one that kind of had a candelabra shape. This is a Gomera 3. So this one, I just kind of thinned it and tipped it. So it looked like that. That's what I took out. There it is before and after. So Gabriel asked, so how do we safely reduce the height of a tree when it's already 15 feet high, like a mango or jackfruit? Gabriel, I would get a certified arborist, honestly. I wouldn't tackle a big tree. I have some big trees in my grove, and I'm not going to prune them because it's too dangerous. So there's before and after. And there it is, the pruned tree on the left, and there it is last year full of fruit. So it shows you that it will still fruit. There's the fruit. Of course, last year was a banner year for mangoes, so kind of cheated. Fairchild on the left, Namdak Mai on the right. Both of these, I don't need to prune that often because they're slower and they break their branches kind of on their own. So this is not one like the turpentine that I would have to prune every year. So there's the Fairchild on the left. There's the fruit on the right. I love Fairchild mangoes. There's the Namdak Mai on the left. And there it is with fruit on the right, or knock knock wood, as Veronica calls it. This one is an Angie. I really like Angie. Angie, I don't really prune at all. This one just breaks branches after it flowers. The branches break, meaning they do what we're seeing here on the right, where there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where there was one branch before. That's without tipping. There it is on the right. That's the middle is where the excuse me. Middle is where the flower spike was. And once that fell off, it came up with 3 little buds of its own. I didn't have to tip it. So we talked about species differences, why we're going to prune, young tree training, gave you some examples. Now, quickly, we have 10 minutes. I'm going to go through planting. So first of all, green side up, super important. Second of all, for fruit trees, this is important. This was one of your pre-test questions. They have to be properly propagated. What does that mean? Okay, I talked about the Fairchild mango, right? These are cultivars. I talked about all the different names of the mangoes and Oro Negro avocado. These are cultivars, meaning every Oro Negro is the same. It's all the exact same. So in this picture on the left, we have a grafting class, and they are grafting avocados. So those avocados in the pots are seeds. So if we take an Oro Negro fruit and we eat it and we plant the seed, we're going to get these, and that seed is not an Oro Negro. Its mom is an Oro Negro, but its dad is something else. So it's not going to be the same. These seedlings are all different. So how do we get the Oro Negro? We take a piece of that tree and we graft it on top. We look at the right, we see which happens to be a Fairchild mango. The bottom is this mango seedling. The top is a piece of the Fairchild that we welded into it. So the top is a clone of exactly what we want. Not only is it a clone of what we want, whatever cultivar, because remember, if we plant it from seed, it's a mix, it's a mutt. We don't know what it is. It could be bad. Not only is it a clone of the parent plant, but it's sexually mature, meaning it can fruit and flower immediately, as soon as the tree is big enough. Now, if you grow it from seed, it can take 10, 11, 12 years to become old enough to flower and fruit. Laura says, do lychee grow true to seed? No, you would need to do grafting or air layering. Miguel says, I noticed my small Pickering mango has a few flies around some of the fruit that don't look like they're going to hold. Is that normal? It's possible those fruit have anthracnose. They're sort of rotting. That happened to some of the early bloom. So on the left, you see a graft. The bottom is a seedling. The top is the mango that we want. On the right is just a plain seed. We plant that, we have a mango tree, but we don't know what it is. It could be a dog, and it's going to take 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years before it's old enough to fruit. You got to be a baby mango, toddler mango, a texting mango, Instagram mango, TikTok mango, college mango, mature mango. Then you're old enough to fruit. You have to go through all the stages. You don't just do it as a toddler. So on the left, we have just a seedling. On the right, we have a very young tree that's already flowering. Probably in my mind, it's too young to flower because it would, the fruit would kind of knock it over. But that's a 2-year mango right there. So if we let that get to 3 years, it's ready to go. So also we're talking about planting, so that you need to pick a spot where you're going to have plenty of sunlight. Because remember, the sun gives you flowers and fruit. So anything on the north side, here's a house, here's the north side, it's going to be mighty shady. Anything on the north side of these big trees, going to be shady. So you need to pick a spot where you're getting as much sunlight as possible. You're going to dig the hole. You're going to check the roots. You don't want this. If you do, you need to cut those roots. Get your tree at the right level. Super important. Landscapers, I think, do a pretty good job of this. My growers, so far, not so great. Here's an avocado that was dead. I pulled it out of the ground. I laid it on the ground. So we're looking at where it was planted, way up here. So 3-4 inches too deep. Here's one, same thing, that was planted at the right level. Here's the flare roots. So good level. Remember, it's dead. Pulled it out of the ground, laid it down. We're looking at it from up above. But a lot of weed whacker damage. So that's probably what killed it. So here's a mango that's planted at the right level. You see those flare roots. Here's one on the left that was root bound in a 3-gallon pot. And also way up here is where it was planted. So too deep. Here's one on the right, super deep. I can't even find the flare root. It's so deep. And look at that soil. It's like a muck. It's not, doesn't have good drainage. So planting steps on the left, we need our pick in South Florida. We need our gloves. We need our hand pruners. We need our tape. We need water. We need our tree. On the right, if you look over here, I found the flare root. So that's the level I want it at. We're going to dig the hole, keeping the soil near the hole. We're going to check the level, going to put it in. Too deep, we backfill. Too shallow, we got to dig some more. We get it in, we backfill. Everything's good, level's right. There it is. Now, I don't like these tight tree tape. So what I do is I cut it and then I put same bamboo stake, but I put like a tree tape like this that's loose, that'll still hold it up, but allows the tree to move a little and stiffen up its wood. So there you go. Now we're gonna water, always water right when you plant. So there's the watering. You can see the flare roots were exposed. So now we're gonna get some mulch to protect it from weed whacker guy. So I put the mulch around it, about a wheelbarrow full of mulch. And then we wanna make it a circle so the mulch doesn't really get up on the trunk. We wanna make like a donut. Then what I need to do here is double protect it. So I get these little plastic things and use zip ties to protect it a little more. There it is. Now, also, I put it on my map. So Donny avocado, it's a specific type of avocado. So I have to put it on the map. If I don't, it's just an avocado and nobody knows what it is. Be wary of tree tape or binding. I'll do this, remember. This is keeping weed whacker guy away, all these different techniques. On the left, you're just pulling away the weeds. That works. This is why you don't want weed whacker guy, because if you let him hit this part that's gone now, that's called the phloem. That's where the things go down from the leaves to feed the roots. So if we take that, we're starving the tree by girdling it. Protection. That's my house on the right. I'm protecting my own trees from myself. When you water, you got to do the baby bear. This is a big problem I see in landscapes, especially commercial, is they get everything in, they do everything right, and then they forget about watering. So historical rainfall, you're gonna get your rainfall mostly in the wet season, May through October, and then dry November, April. So plant in May if you can. You can't always, but kind of this will help you to gauge when you need to water. Tropical Fruit Tuesdays is my fruit tree sick. Please join us next Tuesday at 2. And thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you, Jeff. Some really good things there, a little bit different than what we're used to seeing in our boar culture, like the managing them at smaller heights, but broader. And but I mean, I guess the idea is different objectives. And fruit objective, or for fruit, you need to like have all that budding coming out. So
Right.
So okay, I guess maybe we can dual multitask here. I'll go ahead and have the post quiz go through, but if you've got any questions at the same time,
Okay.
yeah, we'll go ahead and throw them in the chat. You can unmute yourself, like whatever you want.
Okay, just a lot of nice comments. I'll take them. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Veronica, Michelle, Miguel, Danielle. That rhymes there. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Spencer. Gabriel asked, do you have any plans for doing a hands-on grafting class? I do have plans. I do it once a year. I do a propagation class where we do seeds for tropical fruit, seeds, air layers, cuttings, and grafting. That picture you saw was one of my classes. So it'll be coming up later in the year. 20 people only, because it's all hands-on and you get to take home a lot of the things you propagate. So it'll be coming up. And I will tell you that Fruit and Spice Park is having a grafting class. I believe it's this Sunday. So I hate to take you away from my class, but I hate to not let you get a chance of taking a grafting class. So I think Fruit and Spice Park is, I think it's this Sunday. You look at their website, you'll find it.
So I guess a follow-up question to there. What do you find to be like the easier species to graft? What tend to take better than I mean, I know there might be some like different environmental considerations and that type of thing, but
I would say easy would be avocado. It's pretty easy. Difficult would be like Mgmt, Canistel, because they have the milky sap, which makes it difficult. And Miguel says, when's the best time of year to graft mango? It used to be more in the summer, but now it's getting so warm, it's better kind of on the fringes of the summertime of the wet season. So now would not be a bad time, but the problem is they're pretty much all flowering and fruiting. You can find a good bud to graft. Now would be a good time. Laura says, can you air layer a mango? You cannot. You need to do it using grafting. You can air layer lychee, longan, and guava successfully. Wesley asked a question not sure of. Fruit trees, good or poor compartmentalizers? I think it really depends on the tree. I know there's like a hog plum, which is very soft wood, and that's not good. But you get like a mango, it's much firmer wood, it's pretty good. Get a tamarind, it's very good. I think it depends on the hardness of the wood.
I think, yeah, from what I've seen on there, I mean, I'm kind of generalizing. I think they're kind of either poor to or medium compartmentalizers, most of them. But that isn't to say that there aren't others out there that, particularly some of the nut trees. I know that's getting out of the fruit tree side that like can be really good compartmentalizers. But yeah, I know. Yeah, even though mango's a pretty good hardwood, I mean, you can still have hardwood species that like they're compartmentalizing can be so. So I think that mango is kind of it's in the middle because of that. So I think let me go ahead and end the poll here. Wow, everybody looks like we got perfect scores all around. Is it showing up? Share results. Okay.
Miguel, August would not be bad. September as well. Late August for grafting.
Okay. So yeah, everyone seemed like they learned. And I think that's pretty good because they probably didn't come through. Some people didn't come until later on through the webinar here.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Could everybody see that? Was it popping up there or? Oh, let's see. So if you can see it, the first question is it a good idea to grow a fruit tree from a seed like you would an oak or native tamarind? And it's false. So all these are true and false. Number two, high nitrogen fertilizer helps fruit trees flower and fruit well. That's also false. And then three, when pruning a fruit tree, try to develop a strong central leader. And that was false as well. So, and I guess if you're watching this on the on repeat here on the like we put everything up on the website, the recordings, like we get into detail on all that, or Jeff does. He went into detail for all of those. So with that, I guess it's past one here. I just wanted to thank Jeff again for being our presenter for this month. And it was really, really cool to get that perspective on things, because it's something that seems to be more and more showing up in the landscape, is having fruit trees in them. So,
They should. Well, thank you for having me.
all right, folks. Well, thank you again too, and we'll catch you in a month. We'll keep you posted via email. Take care.